Hi, this is Chris Murdoch, Teacher Chris, Mr. Murdoch, Mr. M, from Revelation and Restoration Academy of Music and Drama. Now, you might wonder why I'm upside down. The answer is simple. If I were right side up, then you'd see my keys as upside down, and it would be hard to follow. If I played a C, it would look like an E to you. If I played an E, it would look like a C to you. If I played an F, it would look like a B to you. If I played a B, it would look like an F to you. A G would look like an A would look like a G, and so on. But if I turn myself upside down, then you can see exactly what I'm playing. C, D, E, F, G, A, B, C. By the way, for those who don't know, that's the C major scale, but a lot of you will already know that. Scales kind of get a bad name. They're thought of as just an exercise. Now, they've got a great name among a lot of teachers, but some teachers avoid them and some students don't like them because they seem like just an exercise. And the teachers are afraid that the students won't like them, and the students sometimes don't because they think of them as just an exercise. But scales are much more than that. Scales, as well as chords, which do have a better name, those are some of the keys to being able to really improvise effectively. And that's what this is about. That's what this is about today. How to improvise. So before we go any further, Jesus, thank you for the gift of yourself, the gift of life, the gift of music, and this time to learn how to sharpen the skill of music. Help us use everything, including our music, for your glory. In Jesus' name. So, scales. Why aren't they more than just an exercise? How can they help us to learn to improvise? Well, for one thing, let's just say maybe I'm improvising something in the left hand already. And maybe I'm doing a little bit of chording in the right hand. But then I switched. I did something a little more basic in the left hand, and I started doing some improvising in the right hand more than just on the notes of the chord. Chords are already, like I said, they've got a better name than scales. People know about using chords to improvise, breaking up the notes of the chords, playing them in a different order, whatever. But did you notice when I started improvising on single notes in the right hand, did you notice that the notes I used came from the scale? I went up the scale. I went up from the root of the tonic, the C, to the submediate, the sixth, from the 1 to the 6 of the scale, and I started going back down after that. I don't remember if I went all the way back down to C. I think I did. So that just knowing the scale helped me to be able to come up with something on the fly to improvise about. To improvise, I just took some of the scale. And you can take a few notes of a scale, and you can make a melody based on those. What am I really doing? There's the scale again. I took the first three, tonic, the supertonic, and the mediant. I do like to use those names occasionally. Yes. For the 1, 2, 3. And then I took the 2, 3, 4, the supertonic, mediant, and the subdominant. And then I took the 3, 4, 5. Mediant, subdominant, dominant. And you know what? All I was doing was really just playing the scale. Even if you don't know those technical terms, I was just going up the scale and making a few turnarounds. Up, down, up, down, up. In fact, as I did that, well, if you just took this part out, if you just did, that's part of a very famous song. Did you hear that? That's part of what I did. Ah. So, learn your scales, and you can take things from the scale and make them into the seeds of improvisational ideas. In fact, another thing you can do is, I said chords and the scales are two keys to improvising, and I mentioned a little bit about chords, which I'm going to get more into in a little while, but this is a good connector between the scales and the chords and the use of those two to improvise. You can even build a chord on each note of the scale. Now C is the easiest key to do that in because the notes of the scale are all on white keys, and what you're doing is you're making what we call the diatonic chords. Now don't let that long word scare you. It just means the chords that are made out of notes that are part of that key. The scale of C includes all those white keys, so all I have to do is just build a third and another third together on the white keys. For those who don't know, a third is like play one letter name like the C, skip one letter name like the D, and play the next letter name like the E, or skip the next letter name like the F, and play the next letter name like the G. You can stack those together to make a chord. And then, yes, some of these chords, for those of you who already know different types of chords, these are different types of chords, but they're the chords made out of the notes of that scale. If I was in G, well, then the F would be sharp, right? And for those who don't know the different keys yet, that's okay. This is a little bit of a preview. But what if I was going to build chords on the scale notes of G? I would use all the white notes, except when I got to the F, I would sharp it. So, there I sharped the F, there I sharped it again, there I sharped it again. And, well, you say, what's that got to do with improvising? For one thing, I'm going to go back to the key of C. But you can do it in any key. Christmas time. Oops. You can do that. You can do that as an intro, an outro, aka ending, or coda, or a filler, like an interlude between the songs if you're doing a melody, a medley. You can do that for Christmas music. You can can invert the chords. There's the root position, the root on the bottom, the C. But you can invert the chords, put the third on the bottom instead of the root. You can say, see, you can do that in any key. See, you can do that in G, you can do that in any key. But it's not Christmas time. I know, I'm making this in January. On the 23rd of January, I like to say it's now the 30th day of Christmas. But what about all year? Can you do more than just that? More than just Christmas music with chords based on the scale notes? And taking the notes from the scale to make the chords as well? Absolutely. Because those are going to be some of the those are going to be, well, I'll put it this way, those are the native chords of that key. And if you use mostly those chords, you're going to have a very conventional sound for that key. In fact, what's really good most of the time is to use a lot of conventional chords, so know which chords are native to that key, and then use a few chords that are not. Or, for that matter, maybe if you're using a lot of chords that are not, put them in a pattern that keeps repeating, and do them for a little while, and then come back to chords that are. And when you're playing chords, you can play them all notes together. You can improvise that way. Melodic improvisation with some syncopation there in the left hand, but the right hand really was just playing chords, blocked chords, all the notes together. Now, the right hand is playing block chords. The left hand is playing notes from the chords, mostly leaving that third out, like when the right hand was playing DFA, the D minor chord, the left hand was playing A, leaving out that F, and going ahead and playing the next D up. And so that's the next part. You can play the notes of the chord all together, or you can play them broken up. And for that matter, yes, you can play all the notes in one hand, and you can play one or two of the notes in the other hand. In fact, the lower you go on the piano, and I've heard that this is because the lower you go, the more of the overtones are within the human range of hearing, the odder the notes sound. Now, this keyboard doesn't have the full 88 keys of the piano. It doesn't go as low as my acoustic piano does. How low can it go? But when you get really down toward the bottom of the acoustic piano, you can hear it starts sounding pretty muddy, especially if you try to do a whole chord. In fact, if I just go down, if I just set this to play an octave lower, you can hear how muddy it sounds when you play a whole chord down so low on the piano. And this is why we generally want to play an octave or play the first and the fifth. By the way, the octave that I'm playing so far has been the chord root. There are times when we don't do that, but chord root is a good bet if you're not sure what to play in that left hand. Yeah, say the right hand is playing blocked or broken chord, and the right hand is on that C chord, so maybe that left hand is going to rock on the C, the root of the chord, and maybe include the fifth, G, whatever. Anyway, I said that I would show you how nutty it sounds when we get low, so I just shifted it down one octave now. Now, there's some music where you really want that, but it's a specialized sound. It's a specialized sound that we don't just use in general, indiscriminately in most of our music in this culture. So if I go down that low, I'll probably do just an octave and maybe the fifth. And probably not the root and the fifth together that much. What did I do there? I threw in a D chord, D major, and I'm going to put this back in the octave, the non-transposed octave, but D, F sharp, A, that's not part of the C scale, is it? Because it's got the F sharp. Well, you'd be right if you said that. Remember I talked about throwing in some unconventional chords, some non-native chords to the key, that is. Chords that don't use just those native notes. Well, remember I said throwing in some unconventional stuff, occasionally I'm coming back to what's conventional. By the way, when you've used something unconventional, a great way to get back to what's conventional, and the more you know about this, the more you'll be able to choose chords to improvise on when you're just making something up. When you're going to use something that's non-conventional, like that D chord in the key of C, think of where the root is. What's the root of the D chord? Well, it's the D, right? Well, you can think of going down a fifth, D, C, B, A, G, or up a fourth, D, E, F, G. Either way gets you to the same place. Doesn't matter. It's just very often when we have a chord that's non-native, we will make the next chord after that a chord that's, guess what, got a root a fifth lower or a fourth above. Remember, whether we go down a fifth or up a fourth, it's the same. So if I'm in C, if I'm in the key of C, oh, well, I just threw in a non-native chord. I threw in the D major with its F sharp, the non-scale note. And so I can just go to G. Now I've inverted it, although it's technically still in root position because I've got the root as the lowest note here. It's the lowest note because of the left hand. The right hand is inverting it. But yeah, I went from D chord to G chord. a difference of the root being down a fifth, 2, 3, 4, 5, or up a fourth, 2, 3, 4. So there we are. It's back to native chords, because that's a native chord, and then there's the C. That's also a native chord, and of course it's the root, the tonic chord of our key, the chord that has the same name as the key, C major. There we go. So what if I played a non-native chord, and then what do you know? I went down a fifth or up a fourth with the root after that, and I didn't get to something that was native yet. Well, guess what? If you keep going down by fifths or up by fourths with the chord root, eventually you get to something. Eventually you get to all 12. Finger started to slip there. All 12. And yes, you heard 13 notes, but that's because I repeated the C at the top. All 12 of the different possible notes of the white and black keys within an octave. That means eventually, if you just keep going around what we call the circle of fifths, or I've heard it called the circle of fourths, or the circle of fourths and fifths. If we keep going around that circle, it's called a circle because eventually it goes around, it meets itself, it goes to all those different keys. That means eventually, if you just keep doing that, you'll end up back with something that's native to the key. What if I was in the key of C? Oh, notice. That's not exactly what I played the first time, but notice I was using notes of the C scale. And yes, I did some turning around and down and back up like I did before. But yeah, knowing the C scale, and it would be even more obvious if I was in another key and had to remember some sharps or flats. Knowing the scale would help me to come up with that. But anyway, as I was saying, what if I'm in the key of C? Oh, by the way, most of the notes I used there were part of the C chord. And then I just threw in a little more that was from the scale. I had the 6, 5, or the submediate, dominant, and subdominant of the scale. Just threw those in. But then, after doing stuff like that, conventional, I went to E flat chord. Well, remember if I went to a D and I went up a fourth or D and down a fifth with the chord root, I would get to G, and that's native to the key. But if I do that from E flat, then what do I get? Up a fifth or down a fourth from E flat is D flat. Huh. Well, D up a fourth or down a fifth is G. And we usually do go that way. So let's try E flat up a fourth or down a fifth. That's A flat. That's still not part of the key. In fact, if we go up a fourth or down a fifth from A flat, D flat, still not part of the key. What about up a fourth or down a fifth from D flat? Well, G flat. So let's say we went the other way, like I did at first, up a fifth or down a fourth to B flat, and then came back to that E flat. Of course, now it sounds like we've changed keys. It sounds like we're in the key of B flat. But then I keep going, A flat, D flat, G flat, and I just keep going, you know, raising the chord root by a fourth or lowering it by a fifth. I get to B. Of course, if we're talking about G flat, then a fourth from that would be spelled as C flat, but it is with B. And then E. Well, if we're thinking of B as C flat, this would be called F flat. But anyway, it's still not native. And then, what do we know? A, and then D. Oh, that's familiar. That's the first non-native chord we played earlier. And what did we do from D? We went up a fifth or down a fourth with the chord root to G. So what did we do? E flat. We explored a little bit. Went the other way because I accidentally went the other way at first when I was giving the example, but it still sounded good. And it is something we do on purpose. So E flat, E flat, D flat, G flat, B, also known as C flat, E, also known as F flat, A, and yes, if we were calling F, if we were calling E F flat, yes, we would call A B double flat. But anyway, A, B, G, and now we're back to native chords and C. Alright, so most of these notes that I've been using have been, yes, notes of the chords, whether I've played a lot of first and fifth in the left hand, and a lot of blocked chords, or a little bit of breaking up the chords in the right hand. But then at the end, when I got back to the C, I know this isn't what I played, but I'm using it as another example. I used notes that were from the scale, but weren't part of that chord. Again, if we were in another key, like E flat, it would become even more obvious that, yeah, knowing the scale helps. Now, doing this in C first before you learn to do it in other keys might make it easier. Although some say that while C is the easiest key to read, some say it's the hardest key to play in because you don't know. You don't have a place to get on and off the black keys. It's just all the white keys. It all depends on how it's taught and how you think about it, perhaps. But maybe not. But when we get into other keys, knowing the scale, it becomes more obvious that knowing the scale helps. But then, what if you have, and this is something different. We've talked about how to use the circle of fourths and fifths to get back to native chords from something that was non-native. But remember, I also said you could just, if you put in a lot of unconventional stuff, non-native chords, you could make them into a loop and then just loop them for a while and go back to the native chords. So let's say, what if I just wanted to do going an A flat and let's say G flat, between them for a while, and then just go back to something conventional, native. A flat. By the way, I'm still in the key of C, but I started improvising on notes of the A flat scale. See how knowing the scale helps? I could have jumped from the A flat back to the C. I could have gone to the G. Usually, when you're breaking out of a loop with non-native chords, you want to either just go by steps. Let's say, up a step from A flat is B flat, and up a step from B flat is C. Or maybe you want to jump by, well, we talked about going by a fourth or fifth, but you can also jump by a third, up a third, C. Or down up. This would be a minor third, but it gets us to F, which is native to the chord, for that matter, down a major third. That one sounds a little bit weird. Use your ear. And so that's how using chords and scales can help us to improvise. And yes, I believe I mentioned melodies earlier. You can use a melody and just change enough notes that you're not breaking anybody's copyright if it's still under copyright. And then maybe change a few notes and then change a few more notes. There, you saw I just took and I changed that last note, and then I did other things with it, and then I ended with just the notes of the scale. Alright, so those are some keys to improvising. Thanks for watching, and have a blessed day with Jesus. This is Chris Murdoch, Teacher Chris, Mr. Murdoch, Mr. M, from Revelation and Restoration Academy of Music and Drama.